Hello there. Welcome back to the Sky Guys podcast. We are back. We promised we record out to you on Thursday. We're actually here a day early because this episode, this arc of Andor was so big, we cannot wait to cover it. I'm one of your hosts, Mike Phillips. Unfortunately, Pete Consadori got lost trying to get to Yavin IV, so it's taking a little longer to get here. But we do have with us here our man, our most trusted man on the inside, Nick Fraietta is here. Nick, how are you?
Doing well. I heard Pete may have gotten caught on Gorman. I hope not. We'll see. Hopefully he got out of there.
Yeah, I know he was over there doing some investigative reporting for us, and then the massacre broke out. So
Yeah, we'll see if he's okay.
yeah, it might take a little bit to get back. So we'll see. We'll see if we get Pete back here next week. But very interesting once again that some of the most critically acclaimed episodes of Andor are the episodes Pete can't make the podcast for.
Yeah, interesting. Third arc, huh?
Yeah, he missed One Way Out last season one.
That's right. And he's missing these now.
These now we'll hear from Pete next week about what's up here, and I'll mention here. If you want to subscribe us on the Sky Guys, you're going to do so Apple Podcasts, Google Play, TuneIn, Spotify, Amazon, all usual suspects. Simply search for the Sky Guys here at podcast platforms. You find episodes there. And even though Andor is just 1 week left, we do have some more Andor content planned that you guys are going to kick out. So make sure you're subscribed, especially Just in the Suffering people. We're going to disappear after the season review show, but we'll have more Andor content and more Star Wars stuff coming up after that. So subscribe.
Hit the button. Just takes a click or a tap, whatever you're on.
Yep. You can also check out the YouTube version. No longer Mike Phillips on YouTube, is the Sky Guys YouTube channel. So like all our videos are there now. No more Mike Phillips on YouTube. So just
That's right.
Sky Guys
Sky
Podcast.
Guys Podcast is the YouTube channel.
You can email us also skyguyspodcast@gmail.com. You want to leave your feedback, some thoughts, we'll check that out there. Also check Nick, remind the audience how to follow us on social media.
You can follow us on social media at Sky Guys Podcast. That's pretty much everywhere. Or you can email the pod, as we said, at skyguyspod@gmail.com.
One of these days we'll figure out who actually has the Sky Guys podcast at gmail.com email.
Yeah, we'll reach out to them and try to strike a deal.
Yeah. We'll try and bargain with them. So we'll also go to our social media comment of the week. This is from TikTok. This is their comment talking about Clea last week. This is from Eddie on TikTok says, I use the dynamic between Clea and Luthen. In S1, she's presented as an assistant or number two, but S2, she's much more assertive with him. I wonder if she's actually the one in charge. We talked about this a little bit last week. So the Clea Luthen dynamic is a lot of fun. I don't know how much more of it we'll get in the last arc, but I do think they left some interesting pieces on the board here with this week.
It's an interesting point, and I agree. It is something to wonder about, and we don't know for sure yet after the third arc, but we might find out after the fourth arc. So hopefully we find out some more information about this.
Yeah, for sure. And very light Luthen week also on the Android this week. He was only really
Yeah,
in an episode.
I think we've reached that point in the timeline though, where he's not as important anymore because of the alliance.
Yeah. They drop
His
hint
job was getting us to that point and helping us get to that point. We've gotten to that point now.
yeah, and they do give us a line we'll get to in a little bit, and we get to that third episode. It says why he's not where we're going right at this point anyway. We'll see what changes next week. But Nick, only a little bit of Star Wars news here. So we mostly caught up last week.
Yeah, so Nika Futterman is the voice of Asajj Ventress, and she wants to do a full show on Asajj Ventress, which is set after the appearance in Tales of the Underworld that also just came out. We will cover that at some point. We all watched it, but we're in Andor season, so we're gonna not cover that until a little bit later.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere. We will get to it probably within like the next like month or two. We have a lot of stuff planned coming up here, but like Tales of the Underworld we're gonna get to here. Nick, quick take for the audience. Would you support this?
Um, yeah, yeah, I'd probably watch it. I mean, I'd definitely watch it. I'd probably like it. Um, I mean,
It-
it's not gonna happen. Like we have the mall show coming. Like we know it isn't gonna happen. So like, it's just it's more of a if it did come, would I be okay with it? And yeah, I would. It's just
yeah, I think
yeah,
a lot less street cred for Ventress than with clones or Maul in terms of the fan base.
yeah, 100%. You're really only appealing to people who are extended media fans. Like people with Maul, everyone knows him from Phantom Menace. and Solo. And then if you've watched Clone Wars and Rebels, you know him. And everyone who hasn't watched Clone Wars and Rebels knows that he's in Clone Wars and Rebels.
Yeah.
People with Ventress, it's a different story. To the common people, I mean, not like you and I.
Yeah. Though if we did have a Ventress show, Max Brown's ought to be on here every week talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I like Ventress as a character a lot, and I didn't mind Tales of the. I don't know. We'll just like 1 minute on it. I thought it was fine.
Yeah, it was
Tales of
fine.
the Underworld. I didn't think it was great. I didn't think it was bad. I think it was worse than Tales of the Jedi. I think it was better than Tales of the Empire.
Yep. We'll cover it. We'll go more in detail
We'll
on that.
cover. Well, yeah, we'll cover it in detail. So if they were to do more of that character, I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Second is the Wrap.com reports that Andor has generated over 300 million in revenue for Disney Plus, exceeds Boba Fett and Ahsoka. Now that's not combined, Boba Fett and Ahsoka. That's individually, right?
Individually, yes.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
So Andor has made a lot of money for them, and that's really the goal here. Because like, why are they making these shows? Let's get real. Are they making the show because they want you and I to smile? Not really. No, they're making the show so they can make money, right?
Yeah. And the thing that
So
comes to me is like, if we're getting big returns on a show like this, maybe we'll start pushing more towards like, we should try
exactly.
higher quality content.
Exactly. So if they're actually making money off of this show and fulfilling their goal, then maybe they'll say, "Hey, we should make more like that because people liked it."
Yeah.
And maybe they'll start doing things more similar to this show, which is just a different tone than every other Star Wars show we've had.
Yeah.
Even
And
the ones that are very good, like we consider Mandalorian to be very good. We like Ahsoka on this podcast a lot, and even though it's good, it's nothing like this.
yeah, even Skeletor, Crew, which we had fun with.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, nothing like this.
yeah, we're gonna like. We also want to have this discussion with Pete at some point, so keep an eye on your feeds. We'll definitely do more on this in the near future.
Hmm. Great. And last piece of news is ASAP Rocky, the rapper, says he auditioned for Lando, but he bombed it. And Donald Glover, or he refers to as Childish Gambino, his stage name, did a much better job than him.
Yeah, in Solo, we're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah, so that would have been a fun alternate universe where ASAP Rocky is Lando.
Would have been interesting, but
Yeah,
he ain't.
and that's it.
And that is it for our news this week.
All right, let's get into it here. The general thoughts here on arc number three to BBY, and this might be like the most buzzed about like content I've seen out of Star Wars like ever in terms of last year the Prison Break episode 2 years ago when this came out was a big deal, but I feel like in terms of now we have people a bunch of critics saying TV show of the year Andor with these two episodes like all the accolades. That people talk about Emmy buzz for this show. You get a bunch of acting noms out of this arc alone, which makes sense why they tried to get everything in before the awards season sort of wraps up here. So I think they crushed it with these, especially the back two episodes of this arc here. Like shows you a whole different dimension Star Wars can reach if they actually want to strive for it.
Yes, 100%. And I do want to just say at the top of the episode, now that we're here, 3 episodes came out last night, and the two that are getting attention are the second and the third one. The first one was pretty damn good too. It
Yep.
was not nearly the next two, but it was a pretty good episode. And I just want to make sure we don't lose sight that that episode even happened. But no, I mean, those next two were top tier.
Yeah. I mean, like that episode alone, the first one, episode 7, which is the messenger, like in most of the other shows, it might be a top 3 episode of the season. Like
Right,
if not the top episode of the
right.
season.
It was a very good episode. It's just what else we saw last night was absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, which is why I try and grade them as I watch them. That way I don't get too influenced by the next one.
Yeah, same, same. I mean, I'm sitting there and I'm watching that episode, specifically speaking about episode 7, and I know what's coming.
Yes.
I can tell what's coming because I know the massacre is going to be somewhere in these 3 episodes. And then also, maybe I'm wrong in this. I hate the little Disney Plus previews. The
Yeah,
little picture and the description. I do my best to try to cover it and not see. I don't want to know.
yeah, it's
I
like
understand why it's there. I get it. Every streaming platform has to have that. People didn't know where they left off. Say, oh, did I see this one? Did I not? I know sometimes you have the progress bar. Sometimes it goes away if you don't watch the show for a while. I get it. But like, I wish there was an option to turn that off. I don't want to know.
yeah, that's unfortunate. Like you really have to just like hit like as soon as it goes like, see next and just like smash the button as soon as you get there.
Yeah, because I see a picture of Mon Mothma in the Senate, and I go, okay, she's doing that this episode. I know exactly what the episode's about now.
Yeah.
So I wish they can get rid of that, but whatever, not a huge deal. But as I'm watching episode 7, I'm just sitting there saying I know exactly what's going to happen in the next 2 episodes, and I can't wait to see it. And it's so exciting, and it was everything I could have dreamed of.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sitting here watching these episodes, and like I started after you, so like I think you were about an episode ahead of me basically the whole night. So like I'm sitting there watching like the second episode, the third episode. I'm sitting there like just like transfixed. Like, I know sometimes like if you're like casual watching, you're on a second screen, you're checking the progress bars, you know, there's many minutes left in the episode. Like no desire whatsoever to do that. You're kind of like if this was a movie, this would be like the most complete movie of the arcs.
Oh yeah, I do the opposite actually. I check the progress bar to see how much time is left because don't want it to end.
Yeah,
Like a lot of times people will check because they're like, "Oh, how much longer in this episode? Oh, 10 minutes." Like I'm like, "Oh no, only 10 minutes?"
yeah. Yeah, it's wild to think about that here, but I think we have a lot of stuff going on here in this episode. I think like there are obviously the big themes, which is obviously Ghorman and the Mon Mothma fallout from Ghorman, but I think like it's important to remember here, like there are little things along the way that sort of happen that I think we should try and mention, especially like the Bix and Cassian stuff, a little bit on Yavin 4. We got the Case 2SO like origin here. Like I think like you think we should just start with Gorman and kind of work our way around to the other stuff?
Yeah, yeah, that's probably the best way.
Yeah, so we get the Gorman setup in episode 7, basically, where we see that Dedra's there and that the plan has been placed that we're going to go set this up. And we have Karn there who's sort of starting to figure out, wait, I'm being used. This ain't right. Like something's going on here. So I do think this is a very interesting situation here where, like, I think like Karn at one point you see he's conflicted too, where he's like going up to like his contact with the front and saying like it's not too late to just blame the outside agitators and save yourselves, and they're like just blew it off here, where like you could see over the year they've built this up so much and let the front have so many victories that the horse out of the barn at this point they can't really bring it back.
You could see it in Karn's face and his actions. And he is no longer serving the empire that he thought he was serving.
Yes.
He sees it happening in front of his eyes. Dedra as well, to a lesser extent, but yes, you see it, especially more so at the end with Dedra, but you see it happening. He thought it was all law and justice, and he realizes that they're, for lack of a better term, evil.
Yeah.
That's why they're called the Evil Empire, right? I mean, they're not considered the Yankees because that's why they call the Yankees that. They're based on this.
Yeah. You also notice too, like when you see with Karn, like he's whole thing, and he says to Dedra next episode, like, I always help you like catch like outside agitators and stopping the overall rebellion. Like, and he's gotten close to these people. He's lived on this planet for at least 2 years, according to the timeline. So like he's made friends in the community. Like he has coworkers he's close to, and like he sees what's happening to people. He's like, I helped set this up, and he feels some guilt in that sense.
Yeah, he does. He sees it crumbling in front of his own eyes.
Yeah.
Everything in this show, if you think about it, his involvement comes from that. Back to the first episode of the first season.
Yeah.
It all gets started because those, I don't know, the cops, police, security officers
Yeah. Security guards.
abused their power.
Yes.
So it all goes back to that. That's how this whole thing got started, how he got involved in everything was because of what's sort of looking for authority figures abusing their power, security guards to the empire itself.
Yeah. And it's also interesting too, like obviously like it's the Andor show. We should have figured out that Cassian was gonna be on Ghorman during the Ghorman massacre, but like it was very interesting to see that like while all of this chaos is going on around him, he has his secondary side quest that Wilmot brings him in on. It's like, hey, Dedra's here. Let's kill Dedra and get revenge for Ferrix. And like Cassian like knows that like Wilmot claims that it's Luthen's idea, but we can tell sort of like that's not really Luthen's idea. This is sort of Wilmon just trying to tweak Cassian to like get what he wants done.
Yes, and we are living in a time now towards the end of the season where it can happen. So
Yeah.
you're on the edge of your seat saying, "Oh my God, is he going to do it?" He's aiming that he's ADSing aim down sights right on her
Yep.
numerous times in the episode, and I'm thinking this is going to happen. This is going to happen, and because we're at that time in the show now where if someone were to die, it's not surprising.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we know Mon Mothma, Cassian, and
So
And Saw and like General Draven are not gonna and Krennic are not gonna die. That's about it.
Yeah, anybody in the movie has plot armor. Anybody else, anything could happen.
Yeah, I guess Bail Organa as well, but like we pretty much we know he's gonna die, just don't know yet. But we don't know. Like we have no idea if Dedra's gonna get shot right there. So I'm on the edge of my seat, like, oh my God, what's gonna happen here? Is he actually gonna kill her? And it's crazy, crazy, crazy how going back to last season, we kind of just like saw Dedra a lot and Karn a lot. We didn't really understand like who are these people? Why do they keep showing us these guys? You know what I mean? And then we realized we're really showing you the backstory of these villains,
Yeah,
the quote unquote villains of the show. So that way, like you really sympathize with them and see their point of view in the Empire and what it's like working for the Empire, not just being the Emperor,
yeah,
being Vader, working for the Empire and seeing how that's a common person job.
yeah.
And you're getting their perspective on things, which is a completely different viewpoint than we've ever gotten in Star Wars before.
Yeah, I think it's helped a lot that we stayed away from like those two and Tarkin to a degree also. Where it's like
Yeah,
we don't need them to see like how bad the Empire can be. We can see like
right.
from the people below them like having to carry out these missions
Even Krennic, we've gotten,
sparingly.
yeah, he's barely like he's been in this season what, twice?
He's episode one, episode six. That's it.
Yeah, and he's not really been in it very long. He was in one or two scenes in each of those episodes
Yep.
because it's not we don't need that to show us how bad the Empire is. If anything, this show isn't really about showing us how bad the Empire is. It's about showing how the different planets and are viewpointing this, how the different senators are looking at this, how the common people, the citizens, the Coruscant view the Empire. 'Cause it's something we don't know.
Yeah.
We watched A New Hope, which, by the way, I watched A New Hope on Star Wars Day on May 4th. And then I watched Empire on the 5th, and then I watched Return of the Jedi last night. But and today it's the 7th. Maybe I'll watch Phantom Menace later. But um, we don't know when you're watching the original trilogy what everyone else thinks of the Empire. We think they hate them, but we don't really know why. Like, why do you hate them? They're evil, okay? But like, how?
Well, you see how now.
Now we see how. We see it from their point of view. We see what they're doing to these planets. They're coming in and just taking things,
Yeah.
taking spices, whatever it may be that they need. Oil, this is the equivalent of oil, kind of, in this case.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. They're just taking. And now, by the way, I don't think this was an accident. This was definitely on purpose. We show up on Ghorman, I believe, for the first time in this episode.
Yeah.
It looked exactly like Jeddah.
Yeah.
You know the shot I'm talking about?
Yeah. That varies. Yeah,
The
varies.
first shot, it showed you the whole city with the tower over the entire city, similar to Jeddah in Rogue One. It looked exactly like it, and I was like, "Wait, are we in?" For a quick second, I was like, "Is Jeddah? No, it's got to be Gorman." And then it was Gorman, of course, but it's not an accident.
Yeah, it's not. And we see sort of the steps the Empire's taking to set up this massacre. The credit, like a little too late, but the father fashion designer, I think I forget what his first name is, but his last name is Rylands, who's like the leader of the Gorn Front, figures out that it's a trap and tries to get his daughter to call the whole thing off. And it's like it's too late now. Like we've been building
Yeah,
this. We can't go back now. So I think that's happening here. We see the Empire is playing to like agitate this thing because you see them build a fortress around their headquarters and then let the protesters in, close the protesters in behind them. And they do a great job with the buildup where you have the chanting, you have the Gorman national anthem going on before they start moving here. They really give you that sense of like building up the scene. While you have Cassian creeping around trying to get the shot on Dedra, Wilmon in the mix here. Like the buildup is like terrifying.
it really. I mean, it's done so well. I'm sitting there like, "Oh my God!" We It's cool because we know what's going to happen. Now we don't know, except for Cassian, pretty much. We don't know who's going to make it. Everybody else is disposable at that in that scene.
Yeah,
But we know what's going to happen. We know there's about to be a massacre that, let's just say, more than half of those citizens are going to die. We know that.
yeah,
And I think that's about what we got. I'd say if we had to guess, put a number on it, I'd pay like 70% of the people died, I'd say, if I had to put a number on it. But either way, we know what's going to happen, and the buildup is so intense. I think that makes the buildup even more intense that you're supposed to know what's going to happen.
yeah. It's like
It's not like when you watch an Avengers Endgame and you see Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man face to face with Thanos. we're pumped because we know they're going to fight, but we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
This is a different type of anticipation where it's we know what's going to happen, and I just want to see how it happens.
Yes.
And of course, there are little details in there that we don't know. So we know there's going to be a massacre, like I said, but we don't know. Is Karn going to die? Yes, we didn't know that though. Is Dedra going to die? Is Wilmon going to die?
Yeah.
That's stuff we don't know.
All the Gorman Front people.
Yeah, well, I figured they were all going to die, but the point is, like, you don't know that until we see it.
Yeah, you don't know until we see it here. And the execution of the plan, basically the ISB is running this through Dedra, using orders and Partagrass. They set to let the protesters build, they trap them in with stormtroopers, and then they say, okay, we are an inexperienced unit of like soldiers we brought in yesterday. Have them fan out to make a path to the tower. We start like seeing the like citizens like fighting back with them, and then the Empire in the most like skeevy way possible does this, where they have their sniper kill one of their own men from the rooftops to give them justification to start firing on the citizens, which is really fucked up.
It is, and what I was saying earlier is how the people view the Empire.
Yeah.
You see, this is like on the news a lot. They show a lot of news outlets there, and the media is portraying this as the Empire is taking care of business, stuff they needed to do.
Yeah.
And I think, from what I'm gathering, that the citizens believe it.
Yeah. It's
It
propaganda.
looks like Karn's mother they show a few times watching. It looks like she believes it and she's rooting for the Empire, which shows you that the perspective of the Empire at this time, they still haven't really gotten faith in their or faith isn't the right word.
Yeah.
The rebellion hasn't doesn't have any support yet. There really isn't outside of those group of rebels people who are really out opposing the Empire.
Yeah. For sure. And we see the chaos fly here. Let's go talk about Karn for a little bit because Karn is sort of like Dedra early in the day tells him like pack your things, get to headquarters. We're leaving like today, so be ready to go. He goes through the massacre, like goes to the protesters, sees the riot, like start gets potential here, gets swept into a safe room with a bunch of KX security droids. One of whom becomes K2SO. We'll get to that later. And then we see
Well, we shouldn't skip over that because this is very important that they have those droids.
yes,
Because when the end of the Clone Wars, when the Empire, or I guess at the time the Republic, won the war and then of course transformed into the Empire, a law that they put in right away was that battle droids are illegal.
yes.
And here we are, they're doing it themselves. And I think he sees that, and I think that's one of the look on his face is, what is this Empire that I'm supporting?
Yeah, he's like, what the hell's going on here? Because
We're
like,
not even supposed to have these things. What like I see that we have them now. Like I think in his mind he's looking at this like, man, this is not the empire that I signed up for.
yeah. So I do see like while this happens, like he sees what's going on. He sees a news report, gets clearly disturbed by it. Even told by Father Partic, by Father like Papa Rylands, basically like, oh, like there's like there's like mining equipment outside the city. Like, don't believe the news. Like we've seen it. We know it's here. So he goes upstairs, talks like the man's talk to Dedra and says, "What the hell did you have me do?" He gets, and she's trying to lie to him. And he says, "I know the mine. Know about the mind quick. Gets to the point where he basically is choking herself, throwing out the window if you don't tell me the truth." And she tells him the truth. It's like, we need the mineral. Like this is gonna happen. Like we're gonna go back to course. I'm gonna be safe. And you see at that point he's just done with her and he leaves. And like you can see it breaks both of them basically that conversation.
Yeah, I mean, look, really messed up that he put his hands on her. You don't do that, but I can see the frustration has just reached his all time. Like what is happening? What is this empire I'm supporting? What is empire you're supporting? And why are you keeping me in the dark on it?
And why are you using me to do your dirty work?
He has every right to be annoyed. He does not have his right to put his hands on her, but that's a different story.
Yeah, he's clearly frustrated by what's going on here. Takes things too far, and then he disappears into the crowd. And I did love the setup where we get the near miss with him and Cassian the first time around, and then as Karn sees Cassian again, Cassian has a shot line to kill Dedra, and then they get to this fight where they go with this brutal fist fight. Karn gets the gun at the end. He's ready to kill him, and Cassian just disarms him with this whole line like, "Who are you?" And it just sort of breaks Karn again before he gets killed. So
Mhm.
fantastic way to end the Karn storyline, in my opinion, where like literally like this man who's been chasing and ruining his whole life has no idea who he is, and it breaks him.
Yep, yep. And his whole storyline, I've said it 3 times already. Say it again. His whole storyline is fighting for what he thinks is right, justice, and then realizing in front of him in his last day of life, realizing all I've been fighting for is a lie, and all I've been searching for, Cassian, doesn't even know who I am.
Yeah. So he's like, my life has no purpose at this point.
Exactly. So I mean, not that he had a choice, but he was going down regardless, but don't think he would have planned on living much longer anyway.
Yeah, I know they did. Kyle Solar did a bunch of interviews after the episode aired that dropped, and I think he said the thing that like was interesting for him was sort of like this whole idea, like where like he had tied his whole worth and said like this man Cassian Andor ruined my life because it starts the whole sequence of events where he gets fired and where he ends up like working at Bureau of Standards, being stuck with his mother again, and now he finds out that his one closet can have his girlfriend, so he's basically using him to do her dirty work to promote it, basically massacre a bunch of people. And then all that, he's like, I could at least kill the guy and get like my moment back. And then he can't get that because the guy just doesn't realize he's like, I'm nothing to him.
Yeah, it's truly an incredible story what we got with Karn. We were very confused in season one. I think a lot of people were
Yeah,
in the beginning, like, why do they keep showing this guy? This guy's weird. This guy's creepy, and it's like make you learn about his character, makes sense. He's just all about justice.
yeah. And I do love that we didn't keep him alive and have him either like turn or sort of like go further here. I think this is a good way for this character to go, where like I think like we've seen the like Imperial sympathizer are flipping and rebels like Callus. I think it would have been repetitive. We did this at Karn. I think this way I think is fun where we sort of like don't know what he would have done if he actually just kills Cassian and goes on his way.
Look, I know there's one obvious answer, but I kind of want to see the opposite.
Yeah.
I want to see a good guy turn bad. Can you think of any in Star Wars? I know there's an obvious one. You could say it.
Yeah, well, the whole reason we're talking about
Anakin, of course, but we don't really see it often.
and Kylo Ren to a degree.
We didn't see it happen, though.
No.
We picked up after the fact. Same with Dooku. We picked up after the fact. We didn't see it happen. I guess we got some insight on that in Tales of the Jedi, but I want to see it happen in one of these stories where a good guy turns bad.
Yeah, well, they don't seem to show it too often.
They don't.
Yeah. So anyway, Karn's gone here, and then this we see here. Like, I think it's the other thing about this is that like obviously we talk about the setup here, like, and can we shout out the score for this show because the score for this show has been fantastic throughout, and the music. I know you notice they change the intro every week to sort of fit the theme here, and like the intros for 8 and 9 were on point.
I skipped the intros. Couldn't tell you.
They were fantastic. They always change the musical cue based on what's going on here, and they had basically like the Ghorman national anthem like playing at the top of the episode.
I skipped the recap, I skipped the intro, and I skipped the credits.
Yeah.
Except when it's the last episode, I always leave the credits just in case they decide to do a post-credit scene. But something tells me this is the kind of show that will not do a post-credit scene.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to talk about Dedra's part in this too, where like we see like that she's here, like she is basically running the orders here. We see that like she like at first like she knows what has to be done, but like seeing it herself and being there and watching it happen and knowing basically that Karn left her and died in that massacre, like basically broke her as well. Where we see her
Yeah,
attack in the episode 8 and don't see her after that.
I see her in the same shoes that I see Karn, where she's seeing I'm serving an empire that I no longer agree with, but she's a couple steps behind him.
Yes.
I feel like he has already reached that point where he's like, this is insane. And she's at that point where she's like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And she's like maybe a year away, makes sense considering she's alive for the last arc, from saying the same thing.
Yeah.
But who knows how the Ghorman Massacre is going to impact her. I would assume she's going to get a promotion,
Yeah.
which would lead to her maybe wanting to stay with the Empire. And it's like, oh, I don't agree with it, but they're paying me, and I'm going to maybe I have maybe she's one of the regional governors or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like Dedra, I feel like is more likely based on what we see of her, and we hear the backstory of how like she's had no real family. She hasn't really like experienced like any sort of like meaningful connections in her life. I could see her sort of like doubling down on the Empire, saying, like this was bad, but we had to do it, and now I'm fully on board. So I think like I don't think she's switching sides. I think she's going further down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I'm interested though because of it's interesting because like why would they show her having second thoughts then if it wasn't for anything? I feel like they wouldn't show that for no reason.
Yeah, I think it's just sort of
Plus,
like,
they decided to add complexity to the character.
yeah, also like the pure shock of like, I mean, like she gets the order. I was always think is that we get the call from Partagrass that like she has to take at when Karn storms out of the room, and we don't see it, but the look on her face, just like you could just see it all, like that she's like horrified by what he told her to do.
Yes.
And that's a good job the show does of like showing without telling. Where I could see like if this was in say like The Mandalorian, we see the entire call. Like we did not need to see the call to get the message across.
100%. Yeah. I think we're good on Gorman.
Yeah, I also want to add here in terms of like I think also like the amount of time we spent here, the build up and like just the sheer carnage we're getting throughout the massacre, whether it's, like the grenades being thrown in there, people falling left and right, the KX droids coming out and like I don't know if it's K2SO specifically, but like the one who basically runs over and just like basically like flings like Ella Rylands against the wall, and then she
I
like,
think it's him. I feel like he's the one they focused on the entire time.
yeah, I think he's the one looking directly at Karn also when he goes in the.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's no way to confirm that, but
I was
I'm,
assuming that's what they meant.
yeah, it has to be what they meant. It's for sure him. There's no reason to like single in on another one.
Yeah, so like seeing him like run out here, basically like start like laying waste to these protesters and flinging Ella against the wall, the point like where like she basically comes down like lands like down the pavement, like that's like that stuff is like horrifying. And then seeing like some of these other protesters like succumbing to injuries as they go, people like right and trying to get out of the plaza, like really, really dark stuff.
Absolutely. And well, I guess we should what we should do is so looking at our little sheet here, we should talk about K2SO now, and then this other piece we have should just go elsewhere, if
Yeah,
that makes
yeah, we'll do K2SO. I think we'll circle back to the Yavin beginning a little bit, and then kind of come back around to I think because the Ma and the big story sort of come to a head in that last
Yeah,
episode.
I agree. That's a good plan.
All right, so the K2SO stuff basically we see that like at one point he Cassian and Wilmot find each other after they escape the plaza. Wilmot wants to stay because his girlfriend Drina is part of the Wilmot of the Ghorman front. She wants to and she needs his help to get the message out to the galaxy. And we see that K2SO basically is running, chasing them. And remember our pal Sam from last week who killed Cinta?
Yeah,
Big redemption moment for him because he like drives like basically breaks K2SO and slams into a wall and breaks the droid in half. So good comeback for Sam.
very good. Very, very happy for Sam.
Yeah. So anyway, he breaks the droid in half. Sam and Cassian acknowledge her because they met the year before. And the interesting thing here is like Cassian says, "Hey, like before you guys go, like, can you help me with something?" So you see, he takes the droid parts back to Yavin IV. They rebuild K2SO there and suppresses impulses so that like he can work with them. And that's the end of the episode is them turning K2SO on. So I think this is interesting to note because this is a retcon of the comic book where Cassian basically reprograms K2SO in the field. But I think this is perfectly fine. I think this is a much better story decision than relying be held to a one shot comic book, basically of what.
Yeah, no, I like it. It's a good story. If you just kind of just forget that it's a retcon and just assume that this is the way it was, it's fine.
Yeah, I think also it's a much needed bit of joy for us at the end of the episode because we've been through some really dark shit the last like hour and a half, where we see the Ghorman Massacre, we see Mon Mothma having to flee for her life in the sand, we see Bix break up with Cassian. We get a little joy because like, oh, K2SO is here, have some fun next week.
Yes, agreed.
I think it's a much better story decision than just saying, "Oh, the comic version has to work." I don't think you have to be beholden to the comic book. You have a better way to do it, and we'll talk about that in more detail with the Mon Mothma stuff with Rebels.
Yeah, let's get to that Biggs Cassian dynamic first, and then we'll go to my mouth to close out.
Yeah, so the Bix casting stuff. I mean, the whole arc starts on Yavin 4. We see that Bix and Cassian have relocated there now. Cassian, we can tell, is clearly like not in love with the idea of the rebellion anymore, to the point when Wilmon shows up that he's quick to just jump on board to get off the planet. And we do think the interesting point here is the situation where he's got the wound, they go to the Force healer, because the first time in, I think this series we've had the idea of the Force brought up at all.
I think so.
Yeah. So we get the meeting with the Force healer where she basically sees Cassian's future and is like, "Oh, okay, you're a messenger. You have somewhere to be." It clearly spooks Cassian, and she passed the story on to Bix, and it clearly impacts Bix later on. But I do think it is interesting that like Cassian is basically torn between like, I want my life with Bix. I do not want to be part of this rebellion mess anymore. And the Force message, the Force healer basically says, "You have a much bigger purpose than you want to admit."
Yeah, yeah. I mean, absolutely. To me, this is the weakest part of the three episodes, and it's still pretty good story here. It's kind of like digging into Cassian and trying to get him to realize what I don't know, kind of like gonna fix himself, and that he might be going down the wrong path a little bit, and this is the way for him to realize that.
Yeah, because we do see also like in somewhere, I think it was in episode 8, like or 7 after he leaves, when Vel shows up and talks to Bix, like, "Oh, like we were about to promote Cassian in the rebellion before he took off on his personal mission. So we want to try and get him focused on here." And Bix says he'll be there when you need him. And then at the end of the whole arc's like, "Oh wait, he's not going to be there because he's choosing me over the rebellion."
Exactly.
Yeah. I do think the Force here though is interesting because like it's very heavy foreshadowing. Oh, like he's a messenger, he has a purpose, he has a place to be, and the line from the healer to Bix like, "Oh, maybe you're the place needs to be," and Bix is like, "I don't think it is."
No, I think she realizes Bix that is how important he could be and is to the story, to the rebellion, to the future of the war, and she goes out of her way in a good way to force that to happen.
Yes. Uh,
Which, I mean, you had said breaking up with him. I don't know if she necessarily broke up with him, but they're definitely not together for now.
she
It
de
seems like they're taking a break.
she definitely did break up with him though.
I don't think so. I think she made it seem like I'm taking a break from you.
I mean, when you leave somebody in the middle of the night and leave a message and you're off world before they get back, that's a breakup.
I don't agree.
All right. We'll talk about that later, but the Mon Mothma stuff is the important stuff, next important stuff here, because we see that when, like, we see her a little bit in episode 7, where she basically, we remind her driver's a plant. She wants a new driver. Erskine says, "Don't do that. You'll tip the Empire off, but you're onto something." And she tries to warn the Ghorman senator, like, "Hey, like, we need to do something about this situation." He says, "It's a little too late." He says, "Protect yourself." We see that senator get arrested at the beginning of the ninth episode. And by the way, fantastic foreshadowing when he basically says they killed my people, could be you next, and the camera cuts immediately to Bale.
Yeah, that's good. I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah, that was like literally they cut to Bale in the middle of him saying that. So like they gave you very heavy foreshadowing on Alderaan.
And by the time that Bale gets killed, it doesn't even matter.
No, like at that point, like like the cat's out of the bag at that point, the Death Star.
Yeah, the senators don't have any say at that point. The senator is excuse me, the Senate is completely dissolved. It it's almost like it's not even a murder at that point. It's, well, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah. And we also see that like Mon says, Enough's enough. I have to, say something here and call out the atrocity that happened on Gorman." We see that she's a little like gets pissed off at Luthen because she meets him outside of her office late night, and he realizes, "Oh, Erskine's a plant. Your assistant's been working for me since the wedding." So that really ticks her off, and she's like, he's like, "When you leave, I need you to follow my guy, because Luthen's team, because Bale had a team set to bring her out. He's like, Bale's team's compromised. You need to trust my guy." So we'll get back to
How do
that.
they know?
I say
How do they know that Bale's team's compromised?
they do explain that very well. I'll get to that later.
Okay.
So basically, like we get the speech, we get the full speech. Have you seen any interviews that Jamie O'Reilly did about this?
No.
No, apparently, like they were initially going to do a smaller portion of the speech, and they show her the script. She's like, "I want the whole thing." And Tony Gilroy's like, "Okay, we'll give you the whole thing." So the initial pitch of the script was that they were going to be cutting between her speech and like the scenes of Cassian sneaking into the building, the Bail Organa team, the Clay and Luthen. But they chose to leave the whole thing, which I think was the right call. That speech was fantastic.
Oh, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
It was everything I could have asked for. When we heard we were getting the Ghorman Massacre, we said this on the, I don't even know what we said, like what podcast it was, but we had said, like, we had mentioned, oh, they mentioned Gorman. I don't remember when that was. This was like a trailer discussion, maybe.
I know in season one, Luthen brings up the Gorn. I mean, Saw brings up.
No, but it was in our season two
Okay.
preview shows, like one of our shows before season two. I don't know if it was a trailer discussion or if it was us actually previewing the show. We were made aware that the Gorman Massacre was going to happen this season, and
Yeah,
when we said that, I had mentioned to you guys on the pod that that means we're going to get this speech from Mon Mothma, and so I knew the speech was coming at some point, but it was better than I could have imagined.
fantastic speech. And Gilroy, who was his brother, wrote the episode. I know he made a big, like, another big thing in the interviews is he's like, do we have to use this rebel speech? Can I just rewrite the whole thing? And then they rewrote the whole thing, which I'll get to the rebels implications in a second. But fantastic job going to the point of using the word genocide in the speech and directly calling Palpatine a monster. Like, very, very powerful stuff here, and like very irreversible parallels right now.
The speech was everything I could have asked for, and then getting out of there was first off, I think it was a little. It was just it was so intense getting out of there because like after that speech, it's like, okay, this means war.
Yeah,
Cat's out of the bag now. People are gonna know what the Empire is. The sympathy for the rebels is gonna start now,
yeah.
and
It's
it is. I'm on the edge of my seat thinking about her getting out of there because prior to that, everyone was just a senator. She was still a member, even though she was part of the rebellion and all that. She was a member of the Empire. She was.
yeah, like
At
this.
that moment, she no longer is a senator.
Yeah, because we see the whole thing where like we see the Empire sort of have this whole setup where like, okay, we're gonna rig the meeting here so that like nobody who is like a potential problem could speak. Bail Organa wisely knows apparently is like the study the entire rule book of the sentence and just uses procedural tactics to get Mon on the floor, and then Mon basically outs herself immediately. It's like, okay, I'm no longer with you. I am with the rebellion. Like this is wrong. And then at that point, like I gotta go because like the ISB is coming for me as soon as basically make myself an enemy of the state.
100%. 100% with you.
Yeah, and the getaway was fantastic because like we do get the great build of Cassian pretending to be a journalist and Erskine who has basically been fired by Mom for lying to her for 2 years. Like gets like helps him get into the situation here. The I did love the spycraft here where Mon asking where he is and Cassian has to keep dropping that line like I have friends everywhere. So I thought they for a guy who's known as a spy, it's the first real spycraft I've seen Cassian do in a while.
Yeah, I don't know, it's such an intense scene. And then you have Bale's team, they're showing them and their side of it, and you got the woman there trying to contact the ISB.
Yeah, so you want so now you want to understand how this happened, how Luthen knows this.
Yeah, maybe I missed it.
Yeah, because so we find out earlier so where they have list around the ISB has listing devices inside like certain senators' offices. Mon Mothma has killed the ISB team that is supervising these notices. One is missing here. We go back to them later because Bale says I have an extraction. I haven't met them personally. Luthen tells her I have intel that the team's been compromised. You can't trust them. We get the remember how we get the lady phone calling into the ISB the whole time.
Yeah.
He said, I think the operator says Young's agents did this, and if you remember, Young is the last name of Lonnie.
Ah.
So Lonnie told Luthen that they had a man on the inside. They had a plant on Bale's team.
Okay. All right. And why did it take them so long to get her off the air?
I think the implication there is that the people at the door, like by the were sort of like were rebel sympathizers, and it slowed things down
Okay, yeah, it makes sense.
because you see them giving winks and nods here, where the guy
Yeah,
is
yeah, 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 yeah.
like he's like, oh, like we're following the instructions you left us to the letter.
Yep, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, so it was really something. It's the first time that there's been anyone spoke up against the Emperor.
Yes,
ever, I would imagine. And I'm sure anyone else who's done it would be killed instantly, but it transforms the Empire at this stage.
Yeah.
It changes it from the government into you're either with us or you're my enemy.
Yeah. It's an important speech too, because at this point, like we prior to her getting on the floor, every senator we see in there is basically buying the imperial narrative. Oh, like the Gormans had it coming. We see the other planet. Like it's like I had a citizen there on vacation. He died in this massacre. So I screw the Gormans basically. And like because like we get the radio freak like broadcast at the end of episode 8 where like we see Drina and Wilma on the radio trying to tell what happened. Like anybody hear us and like by the way, a quick side tangent on that. The acting from Diego Luna in that scene, when he's listening to the radio, going away with the K2SO parts, and
Hmm.
a tear going down his face, telling you all you need to know about what he's seen, what he's experienced, like that should get the man an Emmy nomination.
Only one Emmy to give, huh? Or can you give multiple?
Now, I mean, he could be nominated.
How many can be nominated from the same show is my
I mean,
question.
he'd be lead actor.
Because Mon Mothma deserves it.
It's like casting, like Diego Luna would be a lead actor candidate.
Yeah. Genevieve O'Reilly, I think.
Probably in supporting categories.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah. Like there's so many good acting performances in these two episodes, and
I loved, by the way, when they were leaving the
yeah,
extraction, how he's forced to do a couple things that I'm sure he didn't want to do, is kill people, but he has to, right?
yeah. I
And
mean, quick on his,
she is appalled by it. She doesn't understand. She is just getting in. She's been on the inside, on the good life, living up in the
he's partying.
yeah, the parties and the penthouse suites and dealing with senators and just talking and laughing about money. And now she's seeing it in front of her eyes, and that's what and the line is perfect. He says, "Welcome to the rebellion."
Yeah,
Perfect. Like this is not. We're not going to just talk like senators here and try to come up with a diplomatic solution.
yeah. This is where like this is what actually needs to happen because we see the point where like the one like the plant the IC plant basically tries to get intervene like when Cassian's coming down with Mon. It's like oh like she's got me. He's like I'm gonna be somewhere. She just panics like oh ISB you're under arrest. Then Cassian and Urson creates a distraction so Cassian can shoot her.
Yeah, it reminds me of when in Attack of the Clones, actually, I think Anakin says to Padme, "You call this diplomatic solution?" And she says, "No, this is aggressive negotiations."
Yeah.
It's like a different. It's just something different than. I guess Padme looked like she knew what she was doing with fighting, but it's something different than Mon Mothma's seen before. This is what it's about now. It's not about chatting it up with your senators. It's about going to war.
Yeah. We see it also like when they get to the point where her driver comes running up to like try and get involved when he can't get an answer from the ISP that's going on. And like she's like, Cat, you see Cat's quick thinking there. It's like, Mom, what's your driver's name? He's like, Cloris. It's like, Cloris, quick, I got her. She's a rep, like she's getting away. He's like, huh? And he just shoots him. Like fantastic.
Yep.
Fantastic stuff. And I think now is a good time to address the rebels situation. Because I think like this is received like I think a little minor controversy on the internet from the Rebels fans, but I think they actually handled this pretty well.
I don't remember the speech from Rebels, so
Yeah. Okay. So basically, what happens here is like the idea is that the speech that she gives here was allegedly supposed to be the speech that I remember, like in the episode when like Chopper's like playing the video of Mon Mothma to in front of Ezra.
not really.
So like he basically they're supposed to be playing that speech, which is what they were originally going to use the lines for. They're going to try and use the rebel speech there, but Dan Gilroy, remember, says like this speech is terrible. I can write a better one, and Tony says, "Fine, do it." So what they came up with is basically we're gonna have her give this speech in the Senate. It gets cut off. We're gonna send her to the rebel ship because they mentioned we have a ship waiting to bring her to Yavin in the safe house. And while she's on that ship, she gives a speech in Rebels that we see in the show. So they both exist in the canon.
Okay.
Which I am personally fine with because
Yeah, fine.
I remember the Rebel speech and I saw a little bit snippets of it online after the episode. Like, oh, I'm going to go watch Rebels now because it's the fourth part of his episode. So
I feel like when people complain like, "Oh, this is destroying canon. This shouldn't be whatever." Like, if it doesn't impact canon, who cares?
it doesn't because they both
Yeah,
spoke
like,
about them.
exactly. Like for example, very good example to me is a lot of people complain about basketball that there's a lot of traveling in the NBA and they don't call it.
Yeah,
If it doesn't impact the play, who cares?
yeah,
If they're walking the ball up from half court and they just go like this and they hold it, it doesn't impact anything. Who cares? Like if you're gonna tell me that like I don't know, I can't think of something off the top of my head, but something that doesn't impact the future of Star Wars, like the main story of Star Wars, which is Empire destroy, Luke turning Vader back to the light, taking over, killing the Emperor. Like if it doesn't ruin that, then I don't care.
yeah. This is not a third Reva learning about Luke's parenting situation.
Yeah, that is a difficult situation, which they could paint the picture of. Well, she learned, but she didn't tell anyone. Does it make sense? Yeah. Is it kind of sticky? Yeah, it is a little bit sticky.
Yeah, I think this one they did very well because they sort of sidestepped the rebel situation where they say, okay,
K2SO, like, does it impact anything how Cassian met K2SO? It makes no difference.
no, I think this speech is fine because this speech was better than one we got in Rebels. And you still
Right.
get the Rebel speech off screen. If you want to go see it, go watch the Rebels episode again.
Yeah.
Like this is a mountain or a molehill here people complain about.
That's the best way to retcon something, I feel like, is you not really retconning it, you're just adding to it.
Yeah, they basically said, oh, like the speech got cut off, so she's got to go give another one, and she's got to go get the other one in Rebels.
Right.
Yeah. All right, so that's the Rebel situation with the speech here, and then it sort of ends up here with back on Yavin where Cassian goes there. He tells Bix, okay, like I'm done. I want to be like I'm choosing you. I'm my skill is luck. I'm running out of luck. I want to have a life with you. And then we see that she basically gets like bothered by this. He wakes up the next day. She's gone. There's a video for him saying, I can't let me be the reason why you don't help the rebellion a bigger purpose. I'll find you after this is all over. We can do everything we want to do. So very powerful situation moment for Bix to sort of put like her wants and desires below what is needed from Cassian to the galaxy. So very
Yes.
fun development for this character, sort of take another leap forward in development.
Question for you. I had this thought yesterday. If they had told us, oh, we made a mistake, sorry, it's actually only 9 episodes, I think we're good.
Yeah, I think we got enough here. This could have ended.
It could have ended. Do you have a couple of question marks like Dedra?
Yeah,
Couple of question marks in
open.
in Luthen. But like this could have ended.
Yeah,
This
definitely.
was a good. They left this in a perfect spot where it could have ended. He's on Yavin 4. Mon Mothma's arrived on Yavin 4. She officially denounced the Emperor.
Yeah,
It's go time. Like you could have ended this here. What we get next week, to me, I consider it playing with the house's money. It's bonus money.
yeah. I think this dynamic's important though because like there was Eric was complaining about they're killing everyone off here. This is a good way to write this out. I know like it's interesting because we had the whole arc of Bix and Cassie over the course of this show and her making a selfless choice to say Cassie is more important to the rebellion than he is to me. So I need to remove myself from the situation. He does the right thing.
Or he's more important to the gal, or she realizes that her feelings for him are just not as important than the sake of the galaxy.
Yeah, and and like I think the spirits of the Force healer like points it out there, like, oh, like he's very special and he's very key to what's going on here. So we need him fully locked in on the mission.
Yeah, I just think whatever we get next week is just it's not. I'm not saying I don't want it. Of course, I want it. We don't need it, and I'm just so excited that we're getting something we don't need. Like, could have ended the show easily after episode 9 and just said, "That's it, everyone, go home," and I would have been very happy with Andor and said it was awesome.
Yeah, I would agree with that here. Couple odds and ends I want to touch on here before we move on to all our trackers and stuff here. The little bit of Luthen we had, where like we see that like he and Clea show up in the last episode. We use the safe house again. Clea goes with them to Yavin, it looks like, allegedly. But Luthen does not. Luthen says, my place is here. I'm in the I work in the shadows. I don't go there. So I think it's interesting that this is sort of right now the reason why Luthen is not on Yavin at this point. He says, like, I still have work to do here.
Yep, yep, 100%.
So it's interesting. It like makes you wonder like what we're doing with Luthen next week.
I would imagine he dies, but we've thought that all season. We'll see. We thought Bix would probably die. Looks like Bix isn't going to die.
Yeah,
I would imagine we're done with Bix in this show. Who knows? But I would imagine we're done. But um, We don't know. Like same with all these characters that are showing up and we've seen throughout the last couple of seasons, like Vel and
Wilmon.
Wilmon and the Lonnie.
Yeah.
Who knows? Their fates are up for grabs.
Yeah, their fates are up for
And,
grabs.
and remember this. Who is the? I'm sorry. How do you say the guy's name? The one who works for Mon Mothma, who she fired, the one from Rebels.
Erskine.
I don't know his whole Wikipedia page, but off the top of my head, oh, he's in Rebels. So he must not die because he's in Rebels.
Yeah.
We're past Rebels next week.
Yeah. We are past Rebels at that point. So
Next week we are past Rebels. So if he's alive in Rebels and he's not in anything in the future, again, we can easily look that up and just see what he's in. But like a character from Rebels who we don't see anymore after that,
yeah.
they could die.
Yeah, because as far as we can tell, like the last episode he's in is is in season 4 of Rebels.
Which is gonna be probably running concurrent to or season four of Rebels probably a year before this.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It says he's here in season 4, episode 8 of Rebels.
I don't know off the top of my head. Season four is the last season, right?
Yes.
Season four of Rebels to me, and I could be wrong about this, is the same time period as Arc 3 of Andor, meaning Arc 4 will be past all Rebels, but I could be wrong about that.
I think it's actually next year. I think it's in one BBY at that point.
Season four, you think?
Yes.
Okay. All right. But they do say that the last arc of Andor, 1 BBY, will lead directly into Rogue One, which we know that is at least after Rebels.
Yeah, because it says here one BBY on the Wookiee for that episode. So
So we know that this show at the end of it will be further along than Rebels ever was.
yeah,
Of course, not including the thing at the end. What do you call it? The epilogue, prologue? I forgot. Epilogue.
epilogue. Epilogue. Yeah, so that's what's going on.
That's what's going on.
I don't know why I'm echoing on your end.
What'd you say?
I feel like I'm echoing on your end.
Oh, I don't hear anything.
All right, well, it looks like it resolved itself, but we'll go ahead here. I think we'll get into our trackers in terms of what we're keeping an eye on here. So we got to mention here, obviously, we're going to start with the character draft because Nick is now officially on the board because he got a welcome visit from General Draven is finally made his return to
Two
the.
points.
You got 2 points from him. I'm up 4-2 because I got Bale again. So 4-2. Pete's in the hole. Pete's in deep trouble if he wants to try and make a comeback in his draft here. So I think it's going to be an interesting one. I feel like I'm still going to win, but this might be a little closer than we thought.
I think I'm gonna end up with 5 points.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm there.
And I think
I think I'm
and I
getting,
think you. What'd you say?
I'm sure I'm getting a Bale at least once.
Yeah, I think you're gonna get Bale twice and Krennic once. I think you're gonna end up winning 7-5,
I think there's also a non-zero chance I get Bodhi.
maybe 8.
Yeah. I think as a,
I don't think you're getting Bodhi. I think you might get 3PO before you get Bodhi.
I think it's the other. I think I might get Bodhi for 3PO.
Because 3PO's on Yavin and in Rogue One. I think there's a good chance you see him.
Yeah, remember we have stuff next week that like I have ideas for next week. I think there's a chance that like we do get Bodhi because I think of all the
I guess there's a non-zero chance that Palpatine and Tarkin come. A very, very slim, especially considering the comments we've gotten about them not being in the show, or at least Palpatine.
we got in the
It's a non-zero chance. I think Ahsoka is a 0. I think Jin is a 0.
I think
I
or
think Aelin is a 0.
I think
And the other two are possible.
I don't think Galen's 0. I'll explain why later. But I
I
think
think he is because he's been missing for years in Rogue One, and we're only 1 year before Rogue One now, and he's clearly just a farmer at this point.
well, I'll explain that later. But like I do think the Galen thing is possible.
Actually, that what I just said isn't true at all, actually. So you're right.
I think Pete's Rebels characters are out also. I don't think we're gonna get Callus or Hera in the show.
No, I think there's a non-zero chance, but I'm not counting on it. Like, if they showed Hera Syndulla for a quick second, I don't think they will. I'd be pretty shocked, but it's not a 0% chance is my point. She is there at the time.
Yeah, like at the time of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. 'Cause I know with at one BEY, they're still trying to get Lethal freed before really get back.
Right, but at the time of Rogue One, she is on Yavin.
Yes.
They mention you hear her name in the background, but like
I think it's more
It's
like,
just, I'm not counting on it. It's a non-zero, is all I'm trying to say. Same with Palpatine and Tarkin. It's not going to happen, but it's not a 0% chance.
I think it's
As
more
Jim Carrey would say, you're telling me there's a chance.
yeah. I think it's more likely you see the ghost in a sequence and you maybe see Chopper rolling around the base and you get any of the actors.
I agree.
Yeah. All right. So next up here is the death draft. And we were pretty spot on with this one here because Pete took Karn. So Pete and I both have completed the board here. Nick, are you joining us next week? Because you have not had either.
Oh, no, I have Luthen and Bix. I think Bix is going to live, but I do think Luthen will die.
Yeah, so I think like this was actually a pretty like we pretty much hit all the big character deaths on the death draft. So we did a pretty good job forecasting this.
Yeah, so in my opinion, or all of our opinions, really, it was Cassian needs to lose these two, Luthen and Bix, to be more, whatever the word I'm looking for is. And let's say Luthen dies. He does lose Luthen, but he also loses Bix just in a different way, something that we didn't really think of.
He's more pot committed that way.
Yeah, he didn't lose her to to the afterlife. He lost her to she's just somewhere else.
Yes. And I want to rapid fire real quick a couple of characters that are not in Rogue One. And right guys, we did see Melshi this week because like Vel's like asking
Now,
at the robot, like whose gun is it? And Mel's like, that's my gun. I'm like, oh, he's here.
I gave him a nice round of applause when I was watching.
Yeah. All right. So rapid fire here. A few characters that we know are not in Rogue One. We're going to quick opinion here, whether they live or die. So Wilmon, I think he's dead.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, we saw him wounded at the end of the episode, and like I assume he survives that. But like, if he's going back to Saw's crew, he's not doing too well.
Yeah, I think he does.
Bix, I think we're in agreement here. I think that she
I
lives,
think she lives.
and like
But she,
I think if we get a post credit scene, I think that's the most likely place you see Adria Arjona next week.
yeah, maybe. And then I think you might end up with a comic or a book down the line that explains what happened with Bix during the war and all that.
Dedra.
Well, you skipped one there.
Oh, I did. Vel. I think Vel's also dead.
I think that Vel will die.
Yeah. I think you want Mon Mothma to have a loss, and Vel's her cousin. So
Yes, I agree.
Dedra.
I think that just gonna live.
I have a feeling she'll live too. And she might be something we just see in comic books.
I think I never know how to pronounce this guy's name.
Artegras.
I think he's gonna live as well.
I think he's gonna live. There's gonna retcon he's on the Death Star when it blew up.
Okay.
I think they'll establish he's going to the Death Star, and then he's no, oh, he's dead.
Yeah.
Luthen
Dead.
dead, and the question is how.
Agreed.
Clea,
I think she lives.
I think she lives also. I think we're gonna see her on Yavin next week.
Yep.
And Lonnie's dead.
Lonnie dies in a way that it's like a way to almost this is I'm gonna say this, but I don't mean it in these words. It's a way to intimidate other Imperials as that you better not do what he did.
They make an example of him.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and then this is how they figure out where Luthen is, and Luthen dies because of that.
Yeah, I'm interested in who is gonna live here because I think that more are gonna live than we think.
Yeah, like I said, I think
Like,
like
for example, this past arc, who died?
Car
Karn?
Karn, a couple of the Ghorman people.
Right. And the Ghorman people didn't really matter. They were in a couple, like 3 episodes. But like Karn, these characters you have on the screen here have all been in at least 5 episodes,
Yeah.
6 episodes. There might be a good chance that a lot less of them die than we think. Are they really going to have 5 people die in one shot here? We'll see.
We'll see. I mean, like this is sort of the end of the storyline here, so like they might be tempted to clean a few pieces off the board.
Yeah, they could, but they can also easily find ways to just throw them in and just say, hey, Wilmon was there and he died on Scarif.
Yeah.
You can say that. You could say, same with Vel. You could say, oh, Vel lived through and fought on the Battle of Endor.
Yeah.
Who would blink an eye?
Yeah. All right, so let's get to our trackers here. Things to keep track of every week here. So, animated cameo trackers up to 11 because we picked up 2 more appearances from Erskine, so 11 total over the course of the show.
Cool.
Live action cameos. We picked up another 6 this week. We got Melshi, we got another Bale, we got Draven twice and K2SO twice. So 25 for the show.
Awesome.
All right. Next up here, we got two more classic lines on the board here. Did you catch
I
both?
caught one of them. I did not catch the other. I caught the bellhop saying rebellions are built on hope. And between you and me, I thought it was extremely forced, and it was the only thing last night that I said to myself, I didn't like that.
Yeah, they kind of threw that in. They threw that in there to sort of draw the parallel to Jaden from Rogue One.
It seemed very, very forced to me, but if that's my only complaint about three episodes that are almost an hour long each of Star Wars, then I'm a happy man.
Yeah, and the other one is when Papa Rylance talks to his daughter, he says it's a trap.
Mm,
So
trap.
I had to get that one in there.
Good one.
All right, the Andor kill count. Surprisingly, I didn't catch him murdering anybody directly on Ghorman, but he did kill the mole on Bale's team, and he killed Mon Mothma's driver. So two more kills, 585 total.
A lot of kills.
Yeah, and last but not least, the name deaths. We added four more in
Quick
this.
question for you before you get to the name deaths. Do you consider the deaths on Scarif, who would you say those are the kill count for? Would you say it's for whoever pulled the trigger on the Death Star? Or would you say it's kind of Cassian and Jin because if they weren't there, no one would have blown it up?
No, I think it's just Tarkin. I think Tarkin gets that body count.
Even though he's not the one pulling the trigger, right?
He's the one giving the order.
He's the one giving the order. That's right.
Yeah, I put that
Well,
on.
but that opens up a couple wormholes that I don't like. Do you then give the order to the general from A New Hope for destroying the Death Star, or Luke?
Luke pulled the. Well, it's true because Luke did pull the
You
trigger.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It gets a little sticky at that point.
yeah. I think though, like Tarkin sort of is the whole is the master of the Empire side in terms of
It's a little sticky, but that's neither here nor there because we're not talking about Rogue One.
yeah. And the deaths we had four named characters. Karn, two of the rebels were named Dylan and Enza. Papa Rylance's daughter died, and Cloris the driver. So four named deaths. So 10 total.
Dolores. Hated him anyway.
Yeah, and now we're gonna go to next up here, the MVP LVP board. These are the best and worst characters of the season as rated by us. After 6 episodes, Cassie Andor on top of the board at +5, Bix +4, Dedra and Karn tied for third at +3, Saw Gerrera +2, the Empire, Clay, and the Imperial Engineering Department +1. That's our positives here. Luthen's at 0. Our negative ones, Sam with two M's. The dysfunctional Yavin IV Rebels. You gave other Star Wars shows a negative one for not being Andor. Perrin, Tay Kalma, and Pluto got murdered last week by Saw Gerrera. The Ghorman front and Wilmot picked up -2 each. Mon Mothma -3, and Lieutenant Kroll from the premiere arc down at -7. So this week I think it's a challenge because there are so many people who deserve MVP points.
There is, and if I'm willing to go first, unless you want to. It's up to you.
You can go first if you have a strong feeling on it.
Well, I do have a strong feeling on it. I'm going to do this a little.
And I'll also mention before you go, we are waiting. Pete does not have his in yet. He will update us next week what he did.
Yeah, I'm going to do this a little unconventionally.
Yes.
I'm going to name three characters that I think should have gotten the MVP.
Yeah.
But I'm going to give all three of them to one person.
Yeah.
So the three people that I think deserve an MVP are Cassian,
Okay.
because he was awesome, Mon Mothma,
Yes.
and the Empire.
Yes.
I'm going to give all three to Mon Mothma because she sits at second to last right now, and that can't be. She cannot end that way. She needs to be one of the top characters in the show.
In season 2, at least.
Sure.
Season 1, she had a good season.
Yeah.
All right. So you took care of Mon Mothma here. I'm giving one to the Empire because they got exactly what they wanted out of the Gorman situation. They got to control the planet, and they got really no blowback for it aside from Mon Mothma's speech. I'm giving one to Cassian because he kicked ass in this arc. He deserved the points here. I'm gonna give one to Bix because Bix made the mature decision to put the galaxy above herself. So those are my
Yeah.
points here. And I'll throw out my honorable mentions here. I'll do what I thought in consideration here. Erskine, I thought was in consideration for his role in this situation. Carr, I think, deserved a point for his moment of clarity for, but he blew it by deciding to go for his vengeance quest. And Sam with two M's deserves credit for saving Cassie's life.
There were so many people you could choose for this episode, or
Yes,
this arc, I should say. So many.
yeah, since you triple up on mine, I figure I just give the other people some recognition here deserved it.
I just can't. I just look at that board and I see Mon like basically second to last, and I'm like, that was no, you know.
All right, LVP section here. We gotta give three out here. So what? So do you want me to go first on this?
Whatever you want.
All right, so I have three. I'm gonna give one as a whole the Gorman front because they did this to themselves. I'm giving one to Dedra. I think she's the big loser of the week because even though she got promoted, she got to witness genocide and saw her boyfriend get killed in this. And I gave one to Bale's entire extraction team because they were terrible.
I'm gonna give 1 point to the Gorman front as well. Like you said, they brought this on themselves in a way. I'm gonna give a negative to Bale's extraction team as well because they sucked.
Yeah, because either the mole was terrible at her job, and the two like no, the two good agents like had no idea what to do.
Yeah, and lastly, I'm gonna give my last point negative to rest in peace to Karn
Yeah,
because he put his hands on Dedra and that was just not called for. Like that to me, that was just like, oh, you're the LVP right away because you're putting your hands on a woman.
yeah, yeah. That
Not right.
yeah. Plus, like him choosing his moment to get just like go kill Cassian when he could have like done something smarter with his life. Like also not a great call.
Yeah, not a good move for him.
All right, so let's go. We'll let you know what Pete does next week. Give you the episode grades here on a scale of 1 to 10. One is worth 978 Holiday Special. 10 is out there the Prison Break episode of Andor for the pinnacle of action Star Wars content. I think the interesting grade is the first one. So Nick, what'd you give to Messenger, episode
I'm gonna
7?
give it an 8.5.
I gave it an 8. I think it's fine. I think you need it for the other two. It's not as strong as the other two.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, so
I mean, you know mine the rest of the way. They're double digits across the board.
yeah, these are both 10s for me also. This is literally like perfect, like the best we've gotten since the Prison Break.
Hey, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think these are both better than the Prison Break.
I think I agree.
They're both better. This is like what we've been waiting for in Andor. We've been so excited because we knew what's coming. We knew that like all of this was gonna happen, and we finally got to see it. All of our waiting has paid off.
It has. And last but not least, predictions for the finale. Nick, what do you think is happening next week?
This is interesting because, as I mentioned not long ago, I could completely see the show just ending, and I'd be fine with it. So this is actually kind of tough for me to have to come up with a prediction here. So I am just gonna say that I guess they're gonna have some sort. They haven't really had any open war against the Empire until Rogue One. That's the first major battle in a way.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say they're gonna go into a battle, but like I guess what we're gonna see is some stuff on Coruscant where Lonnie gets tortured and or killed that leads them to Luthen where he gets killed, and as we said, Clea gets out and finds her way to Yavin 4 where we get going. And I guess we get some good banter between K2SO and Cassian as well. Because now, not only is it like K is part of the crew, when we meet up with them again, he'll have been part of the crew for a year. So they're going to be buddy buddy.
Yeah, he's Cassian's boy.
Yeah, it's not going to do that. We're going to skip that awkward phase.
Yeah, that's agree here. So I have some other notes I'll throw in that happen next week, in my opinion. I agree with you on Luffy. I think he's dead. I think we get Galen Erso sending Bodhi Rook out with the plans for the Death Star, and he gets captured by with a warning.
That's not a bad that is not a bad thing to think right there. That is very possible. I'm not really disagreeing with you there. I didn't think we'd see Bodhi. I didn't think we'd see Galen, but when you put it that way, I'm thinking about it and I'm like, oh yeah, that could definitely happen.
I think he gets captured by Saw's crew, which is how he ends up where he is when we get to the start of the movie. I think that's the only one you want to see. You don't need to see Baze or like Chirrut before the movie. You don't need to see Jin. I think you need to see him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you need to, but it would be great to see.
Yeah, that's happening. I think you're also getting I think Cassian gets the mission to go find this informant. He goes and kills in Rogue One, and Bale shows up on Yavin 4.
Yeah, I think all those would happen. I mean, we'll see about the Bodhi thing. I think it's a great prediction, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. I think that's what's happening here this week. So that's it for us. We'll be back next week for the finale of Andor. The time flies. We're having fun.
Yeah, it also flies when it's only 4 weeks.
Yeah. Imagine this is the one the regret I have. Like imagine we had like a full week to marinate on each of these two episodes, 8 and 9, instead of having to do it on one podcast.
I wish they did. I wish that just looking back, and I know it wouldn't make any sense because of the way the arcs are structured, but how much cooler would it be if there were 6 releases of 2 episodes each rather than 4 releases of 3 episodes each?
I think
Obviously, the structure would have to be changed completely, but like, I just seeing three at a time is just a lot.
yeah. Imagine also if we lived in a world where they actually made the full season of 2BBY.
Yeah, well, I think about that, and that'd be amazing. Season 4, which it would have been the best season ever. But I think season 2 and 3 would not have been as good as we would have hoped.
I think two, they would have fleshed out a little more stuff. I think it's
Yeah,
the best stuff they had.
yeah. Just that I think these last two just would have been unreal.
Yes. So we'll be back next week. Pete will be back here as well. We should have a guest next week as well. So we're working on that here. And Nick, one more time. If you want to follow us on social media, I'm going to do that.
At Sky Guys Podcast, um, or at Sky Guys Pod if you want to email the pod at gmail.com. Sorry.
Yep. You can also follow me on social media, mphillips331. It's MPHILIPS331. This is Ghorman the Just and the Suffering podcast. You got ready for Nick's Celtics. I was joined by Tom Vecchino of the Sorry to Interrupt podcast. So we preview that series, and Nick's won game one. We are recording during game two. Nick, I'm trying to find what the score is here. And Boston,
Knicks are down by 13 with 9 minutes left.
yeah, so it's probably be even series by the time you're listening to this.
Probably, but you never know.
Never know here. So we'll be back next week with Pete. We will finish up our episode watching of Rogue One. We'll get to one BBY next week. Until then, may the force be with you.